Hey guys, so I book anywhere from 8 to 10 sales meetings every single week, both for myself and my B2B clients. And in this video, I want to go over four things that I've so far discovered that actually holds people back from getting results with cold email. These four things are essentially, quite overlooked. People think that it's easy to manage, but it is kind of easy, but it's not simple, right? You have to have at least a little bit of domain knowledge, and you have to have a little bit of more frequent checks to ensure that all of it is like working correctly. And I'll go over all of the problems, and I'll look at giving you at least one to two solutions, both manual and AI automated solutions, so that you can understand exactly how to mitigate all of these problems at once. And it doesn't matter if you're running cold email in-house, or if you're running it with a different agency, or you're looking to hire an agency. By the way, we do that for you. We'll actually get you anywhere from 5 to 10 meetings per week if you want to, with cold email. So we do that for you. If you want us to do that for you, if you don't want to set up everything, you can just book a call in from the first link in the description, and we'll happily map out a strategy with you on the discovery call. But other than that, yeah, let's get into the video. So the first thing that actually, you know, you have to always take care of is getting your infrastructure actually, um, you know, be actually useful for sending your cold outbound. The thing that matters here is that you want to get anywhere from, you know, um, let's say you're starting with 100 inboxes, and these can be Google inboxes or Microsoft Outlook inboxes or Azure inboxes, right? All of these have, the domain knowledge that you want need to have here is that all of these operate at a different kind of sending volume per day. And you need to understand exactly how many emails to send when you're starting out, and what's the warm up status of these mailboxes, how aged the domains are. So things like warm up status, how many days and how many weeks have these been warmed up, domain age, so the domains that these inboxes belong to, what's their current, how many months have they been purchased before. If you have fresh domains, then you have larger chances of landing in spam instead of primary inbox. So there's that. And then you have spam tests, and these are essentially necessary every time you run a campaign. And then you have, warm up status, domain age, spam tests, and then sending volume. So all of these three types of infrastructure. I'm not including SMTP in here because we normally do not use SMTP in our own agency. So we can talk about it later if we have time. But warm up status, essentially, you want to have at least 98 to 100% warm up status. This is essentially necessary to make sure that your emails actually are landing mostly in primary inbox. And once they go below 98%, what you can do is increase your warm up emails, and decrease your actual send volume from these. And this is only for a few weeks, right? And you monitor these and make sure that once the warm up reputation goes above, for example, it went from 96% to 99% again, you can start blasting emails at normal volume again, and it's all okay. The problem here is that many times people actually don't pay attention to this every single week or every single working day, and they end up burning their domain before they can actually get to the problem. And domains burn up really fast. Gmail, Outlook, these guys have AI fingerprinting enabled, which actually detect your copy and classifies it as cold email if you're not using some of the techniques to actually filter through. So it's like a constant battle with these providers, and if they actually get to classify your email as cold outbound, they will block you, and your infrastructure will actually just become a completely drained infrastructure. You won't be able to send anywhere near the volume that you want to send. For example, for Google Outlook inboxes, we send anywhere from 5 to 30 emails per day with every single inbox. If you're sending less than this, you're probably not ready to send anywhere, so you should just warm up for longer. And if you're sending more than this, then you're not gonna have these mailboxes land in primary for more than, I don't know, like 45 to 60 days. After that, these will definitely burn out. Even at 30 emails, it's too much. Maybe this should be 20 emails. I typically stay in the middle, so around 15 to 20, 10 to 15 emails per day per Google Outlook inbox. And when you use certain reputed sources of infrastructure, for example, InboxKit is some of my favorite infrastructure providers, and you have Zapmail, and these two. You also have ScaleMail, but I don't use you really have too much infrastructure from them. So if you use these three, you will see that these people, they actually know the warm-up status, the domain age, and they recommend a sending volume for all of these. And you should abide by what's the recommended volume that they are giving you out of the box, right? If you automatically, if your warm-up status, you created your mailboxes like 2 weeks ago, and you immediately start sending 25 emails, 20 emails per day, it's gonna land in spam mostly. The first time, whenever I buy a new infrastructure, I always try to warm up for at least 3 weeks, and I start at the time around 5 to 10 emails per day, right? And this is necessary. And the way you monitor this warm up status and availability status, so things that happen naturally in Smart Lead or any sequencer that you're using is sometimes mailboxes just disconnect. So either mailboxes disconnect from your sequencer, and this happens sometimes when I don't know, like your credits ran out, or something happened with the infrastructure themselves, like they have some internal ongoing thing, and it just dropped your connections. Disconnections or disruptions, or the worst thing is that is like the burn status. So what you want to do is essentially either monitor it if you have a team member, if you have a GTM engineer, or all of any of the above. That's necessary. That's actually looking at your email infrastructure for your agency and for your clients, status every single week, and looking at the status, updating the status. For example, if a few inboxes run a spam, you run a spam test, and it's like 80%, 80/20 of landing in primary and spam. You actually want to replace that, so like that collection of inboxes with a fresh set, and the fresh set should be also have been warming up for at least 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, if not more. And they should be like your reserve inbox. So the one that you put, the your current inbox goes into reserve, and your reserve comes into the current stack. So essentially, you're swapping out inboxes so that your sending is not interrupted. You can still send emails, you can still get leads, you can still book calls, but you're not interrupting your sending, and you're making sure that your previous current setup, which had this 80/20 spam test, unfortunately, do not get burned permanently. If they do get burned permanently, then you'll have to just incur the cost of buying all those domains again, all those inboxes again, and start from scratch. Instead of incurring that cost, you can just replace them with your reserve um, inbox collection. So for example, if your sending volume is 1,000 emails per day, and which is quite low, you want to make sure that your reserve inbox collection at least can send half of that. So you need to be able to send at least around 500 to 1,000 emails per day through your reserve collection. Because if you're replacing a part of your current setup with the reserve setup, you want to make sure that your sending volume is not interrupted. Um, so if the client is relying on you to get them leads or calls, every single week. You do not want to interrupt that, right? So first is infrastructure. I think I went on for like 10 minutes with this. So it's extremely important to actually understand this, and lots of people do not, and they just end up regretting that they did not. They burned a bunch of money on this. So infrastructure is the second thing, and then first thing, and the second thing is essentially offer creation or copywriting. The problem here is that most people think that you just pick one industry vertical, you write one offer, and you start blasting 5K emails per day, and you think that you're going to be, completely fine, and you're going to generate a bunch of leads and bunch of calls and so on. There is a chance that you get that, and but the chances of that happening is essentially like 10%, right? It's no more than 10 to 20% at most. And it's like when you do that, when you do not actually undergo a little bit of testing to understand which messaging is resonating with the market, the problem is that you're relying on just one offer, one industry vertical to understand if this is something that you're actually, that can actually work. Unless your company only sells to like one industry vertical at a time. So, if, for example, if it's only selling to boutique law firms, then you can obviously cannot. If you're a SaaS company selling to just boutique law firms, obviously then it will be very hard for you to actually or you should probably not test with different verticals. Just start with one then. The problem here is that, once again, you'll run into deliverability issues if you only have one offer and, one kind of email trying to get people to book calls with. So what you need to do, the problem here is that, these Google, these infrastructure, they actually do some kind of AI fingerprinting in the background. Essentially, they mark your email as spam, and just your deliverability goes from 100% to 50% overnight. When they understand that, okay, this is the kind of email, they look at your copy and they understand, okay, this is the kind of email that's being blasted to 5,000 people a day from these many inboxes, and all of these are literally spam, and said that they should not land in primary inbox. So essentially, you've been caught by these providers, these Google, Outlook, and Azure. These providers actually are able to classify your email successfully. In order for you to not have that problem, what you need to do is, if you only have, for example, if you are constrained by the number of offers you can run, or for some reason that is kind of, I have not seen that happen. Even if you're a SaaS company selling to only one industry vertical, maybe you have five different features, um, five different main MVP features, like minimum viable product, that you're like the main core offering that you're selling. Maybe it has five different features for that particular vertical, right? And you can construct offers for all those five different features. Either you can do it in combination, the two to three different features is equal to one offer, or you can do one feature per offer, and you can do any number of combination from this to make sure that you have at least more than one offer to test. That's one thing. The other thing is that you want to make sure that when you construct offers, you do two things. One is Spintax. So essentially, you never say a particular phrase out loud, like completely same, completely the same, for example, 10,000 leads at a time. So, for example, if you are running some kind of, if you are emailing, for example, landscaping people, you want to make sure that, for example, if your opener line sounds like, saw that you're a landscaper at, I don't know, Miami. So I wanted to, okay, this is like a good enough opener. The problem is that if you use this exact same opener for 5,000 people, you will run into, once again, AI fingerprinting issues. So these providers, is Google, Outlook, these people will actually understand that, okay, this is a cold email, and they will just block your email from landing in primary. What you want to do is essentially say the same thing in like three different ways. So in your sequencers, for example, if you're using Smart Lead, you can say something like, you can do something like this. So saw that you're a landscaper. It's not landscaper. um, and you do this or symbol, and then you say, I came across company name, your landscaping business, and you can say a third way, which could be, saw your landscaping business, and so on. So you get the idea. So you say the same thing in like three different ways, so that if you have a list of 10,000 people, 3,000 people will receive this first one, the other 3,000 will receive the second one, and so on. And you can do this for like everything in your email. So you can do this with the opener line. You can do this with your personalization if you're having it. If you're doing it personalization, you can do that with that. You can do it with your offer, and you can do it with your CTA. And if you have a PS line, you can do it with your PS line as well. That's one way to make sure you minimize these people like Google Outlook catching up that you are a cold email sender. The other way to do it would be um, using email variations, and this is the one that I like more. So whenever you construct an offer, for example, if you have one offer, you always try to write the same offer in like two different ways, at least two to three different ways. And once you do this, at least, let's say, 25 to 40% of your email will be different. And when I say 30 copy of your 20 35 to 40% of your email will be different. Emails will be different. So 35 to 40%, meaning, if you're running three different variations of the same offer, you're saying the same thing but in different words, essentially. And this will allow you to both, avoid AI fingerprinting issues, and this will also allow you to make sure that you get enough data in like, I don't know, 2 to 4 weeks of testing. So if you test, on 10,000 leads, for example, your TAM is quite large. Let's say your total addressable market is like quite large. It's more than 100,000 companies, just in, let's say US and Canada. If your TAM is quite large, you can afford to test on 10,000 leads. So if you run like two offers and two email variations per offer, you have around like four emails that you are testing in the first testing round. So you can afford to divide your 10,000 leads into these four different ways of selling your stuff, and you'll get at the end of you sending all of these emails, you'll get enough data to understand, okay, this is the offer that's working, this is the offer messaging that's working, and you can scale up after that. So for the rest 90,000, 100,000 companies, you can just run the better offer, the one that's actually working, right? And even when you do that, make sure to never turn off using email variations, because once again, if you write the same copy to everybody, it will just like these sending infrastructure will actually get burnt in like 30 to 60 days at most. It could get burnt in like 2 weeks as well. So yeah, take care of that. The third thing that I want you to always take care of is reply management. Generating leads is easy if you take care of number one and number two, right? Generating leads will be extremely easy if you do that. The problem comes that, if you're receiving like 10, 20 leads a day, if you're running, maybe 20 is too much, 10 leads a day, and you're getting them at random intervals between, I don't know, 9 a.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Eastern, or maybe 9 a.m. Pacific time and 10 a.m., like 8 p.m. Pacific time, to make sure that Eastern time is covered in that Pacific time, because Pacific is like 3 hours behind, and so on. So if you're running emails in between that time period, you want to make sure that you or somebody else in your team is actually available to reply to leads within 5 minutes. If you can reply within 1 minute, that's even better. But if you're not at your computer all the time, and if you're not checking your mailbox all the time, and you reply to somebody like next morning or like in 3 hours, your warm leads will go cold. And this is the reality. This is called speed to lead, and you have to be like on top of your game here. If you're wasting time when replying to leads, you're not going to book as many calls as you could. You literally double or triple your reply rates and booked call rates. So there's two different metrics here, right? Two different metrics here. One is your positive reply rate. So essentially, what percent of your total replies were positive? So for example, a typical cold email will have anywhere from 10 to 50% positive. It could be more. uh, I'm just making conservative assumptions. I get anywhere from like 30, at least 30 to 50% positive replies out of all positives, all replies. So if you're getting, I don't know, a conservative 1.5% reply rate, a 10% of that will be 0.15, and a 50% of that will be 0.75% positive reply. And that's a huge number, especially in 2026. If you think that's a small number, then you've probably not been in cold outbound for long. So you have to understand that, okay, this is a good number, and you have to make sure that you understand, okay, this is an offer worth scaling. So you have to keep track of metric number one, and the metric number two is, for example, booked calls to positive reply ratio. So if you got 10 positive replies in this week and you booked only 2 calls, then your uh, ratio is 20%, and this is like far too low for you to actually have a sustainable, predictable source of new business. If you're running this for a living, or if you're running this as your primary outbound channel, if you're relying previously on referrals and inbound leads, and suddenly you're doing cold outbound and you're only converting 20% of actual leads into booked calls, then you're leaving like 80% of the money on the table, like literally. So you have to up this number. So what do? You reply to people within like 5 minutes or 1 minute if you can. And we actually do that. Like if you want to actually skip all of these steps and just get to getting leads or booked calls on your calendar just directly within like 1 week, we actually do everything for you in 1 week. We are that fast. So if you want to do that, just book a call in the first link, and I can literally map out your entire strategy on the call with you. But getting back, you reply within 1 to 5 minutes, and you also want to enrich phone numbers for these people. And once you have phone numbers, you can warm call them. So you just call them up and say, okay, hey, hey man, I saw your reply to my cold email about getting you these leads, and or getting you this marketing thing, or any kind of source that you are emailing from, any kind of company that you are, B2B company that you're emailing from. You can just frame your conversation that way and just get a meeting done through a warm call instead. You can also hit them up on LinkedIn if they are on LinkedIn, and so on. Like these are the three different things that I wanted to talk about reply management. Reply as soon as possible and hit them up on multiple channels, and make sure that you track your ratios. These are the three things. If you are not tracking your ratios, you don't know if you're losing money here. If you bump these 20% to 40%, for example, you book 4 out of 10 leads into calls, then you are essentially doubling your new business. Like if you are closing at let's say if you were closing at 25% close rate, right? If you were closing 1 out of 4 people, and you suddenly have, instead of 2 people in the pipeline, you have 4 people in the pipeline, then you'll be closing 1 deal a week, right? So you'll be having 4 deals per month, just by making sure that you actually have this ratio figured out properly, right? And this is the metric to track essentially. This is the reply management thing that I want you to keep track of. The fourth thing is essentially building good lead lists first, and then relying on qualifying. Okay. Better way to say this will be qualify before send. Okay, yeah, this is way better. Look at me improvising on the fly. Okay, so qualify before send. The thing is that if you are running with 10K lead lists, for example, and you start blasting emails to all of these 10K people in that month, and only, I don't know, 6K of these people are your ideal customer avatar, and the other 4K people are just random people, random companies, random B2B services, and so on, then you'll be essentially either get deleted, archived, or marked as spam by all of these 4K people who are not your ideal customer avatar. If you, uh, you know, if you get marked as spam by only 100 people, you'll still start landing in spam just that week. And not to mention that 4K people is like way too much for you to actually, rely on, them not marking you as spam, or, them just deleting your email before they read it and so on. So you'll be both wasting your money because your infrastructure will be dying in, infra will die in 30 or 60 days, 30 to 60 days at max. It could die in 2 weeks as well if you don't do your due diligence. If you send to everybody by scraping, if you scrape leads from Apollo and you send to all of these people without qualifying them, you're just wasting your money, one, and then you're wasting your time. If you want to get to, 4 deals a month, or let's say 1 deal a week, you want to make sure you're emailing the right people. You have to make sure that you're sending volume. If your sending volume is 2000 emails per day, you have to make sure that all of these send volume is actually occupied by the right prospects. So you always qualify before you send. What do I mean by that? The one amazing way, and the way that actually works 100% of the time, is essentially using AI to qualify your prospects as soon as you scrape your data. As you scrape your data, essentially what you do is, let's say you have a 10K leads list. So essentially, let's say you have about 6K companies for these, 7K companies for these 10K leads. So what you'll do is you'll construct a script in Claude Code or something else, and you will be using any kind of API. You could use OpenAI API, you can use Claude API, Anthropic Claude API, or any, Gemini API, anything you want. What you want is to use the AI to visit each domain, or you could also say that homepage of the company, and then you will classify whether it's an ideal customer or not. So it could be a binary classification. So it could be classification could be on two types. It could be a binary classification, so either true or false, or it could be like a sentiment score. So it could be from a 0 to 1 score. So for example, you get companies listed as 0.5 confidence, 0.8 confidence, 0.9 confidence, and so on. And then after you do this, you can actually either just keep the prospects belonging to the true false category if you're doing a binary classification, or you can do anywhere from 0.8 confidence are, making it into the list, and the other 0.2 confidence are discarded. So if you are starting with 10K leads, this will lower your volume, but if you feel like this is actually wasting leads, it's not. You're only emailing to the right people, and you're making sure that you're only emailing, I don't know, like 6K prospects who actually need your service, who will actually read your emails, who will actually try to qualify whether they have a problem that needs solving or not. So you're actually making sure that you're only talking to the right people, and you're making sure that you're not wasting time and money doing this. So essentially, qualification before sending is necessary because right, like you don't want to be replacing infrastructure every 30 days, right? And you want to make sure that your time and sending volume is better spent on the right prospects. And yeah, this is it. These are the 4 things that I wanted to talk about today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll be happily answering them. And if you have any more ideas for videos, let me know as well. And if you want all of this handled for you, if you run a B2B agency or any kind of B2B business and you want more leads, just book a call in the first link, and I'll be happy to go over whether this will actually work for you or not. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.